Hey everyone, it's The Substance Project. I'm Jody. Thanks for stopping by. After watching Patricia Arquette's Oscar acceptance speech, I wanted to do a little digging into the reality of women's wages in the United States today. And from just a little bit of research, I discovered how difficult it is for women to really move up in the corporate world, especially if they want to have a family. So let's start with a simple question. Are women paid less? The answer, in short, is yes, they are. Lots of conflicting data out there, but economists have examined census data from more than 500 or so occupations in the United States, and it turns out that in virtually all professions, women are paid less than men. Really interesting is the timetable for this pay gap. When men and women graduate college and take their first jobs, the pay gap is very small. But as women enter their childbearing years, this pay gap becomes much more pronounced. Economists predict that we should have pay equity by the year 2058 if, and only if, the current rate of progress continues. Now, because the pay gap between men and women widens when women enter their childbearing years, I wanted to take a look at our national maternity leave policy. And truthfully, I never really dug into this too much. When I started having kids, I was blessed to be in a job that had great benefits. I didn't really need to think too much about it. But it turns out that for many people, for most women in the United States, it is a rough world out there if you plan to have kids. So the reality is this: unless you work for a company that offers it, or if you live in one of 3 states that has laws protecting you, you don't get paid maternity leave. Embarrassingly, we're one of 2 countries in the world that does not offer some form of partially paid, legally protected time off for women after they give birth. The other country is Papua New Guinea. Approximately 12% of people in the United States have access to paid maternity leave, and approximately 1/2 of all people have access to some type of unpaid leave. Now, if we look at the Family and Medical Leave Act, which offers unpaid protection for employees after having a child, we find that there's a lot of holes in that policy. Even though it's unpaid, employees have to have worked at the company for 1 full year, and there has to be at least 50 employees in the company for it to even be an option. The other issue is there's absolutely no wiggle room for any extenuating circumstances. So for example, if a woman has to go on bed rest, she has complications after her delivery, this all eats into her 12 weeks. It's not a pretty picture for women who want to have kids. There's not a lot of protection for men or women. So given this reality and the fact that almost nothing can be accomplished in Washington these days, states have started to go their own way in trying to create a better situation for women and families. In 2004, for example, California passed the country's first Parental Paid Leave Act, which is open to both men and women. New parents may get up to 6 weeks off at 55% of their current salary, up to $1,000 per week. Since then, New Jersey and Rhode Island have followed. Now, Kirsten Gillibrand in 2013 introduced legislation called the Family Act, which makes employers offer new parents, both men and women, up to 3 months off at 66% of their salary. It would apply to every company, no matter its size. It would apply to adoptive parents, biological parents, same-sex couples. Now, we can certainly tip our hats to Kirsten Gillibrand for all her hard work, but unfortunately, as all things go in Washington, the bill has been stalled in Congress since 2013. It's not surprising that women's wages take a big hit once they start having kids. If you work for a company that offers wonderful benefits for new moms, that's fantastic. But remember, the majority don't. If we want to narrow the pay gap, it's time that we pay attention to the plight of all women. Really be forced to wait until the year 2058 to achieve wage parity with men? I hope not.